Industrial Energy Conservation, Audit and Management, Coal and Steel Technology, Indoor Air Quality, Career Guidance, Organizational Behavior, and Executive Coaching. Welcome, sir. I request
Thank you.
continue,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you for that nice introduction. And good morning to all the participants of this ACT Teaching and Learning, Academy, FDP. So this session that I'll be doing, taking you through, this title Industry Institute Interaction. Just a few, hygiene check. I hope my, I'm audible clearly. One of the, coordinators could just
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's audible. It's audible,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. So, okay. And you're able to see the, you're able to see the slides clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So we'll get going. What I will do, so a couple of things I would, obviously I think you would have been told. So I would request all the participants to, mute your mic so that we have minimum noise interferences. And also we conserve the bandwidth. And I'm also right now going to, switch off my video just to conserve some bandwidth so that, the transmission happens clearly. Is that okay?
Okay, sir. No issues.
Okay, fine. So, all right. So, over the next, maybe one and a half hours, I'll try and stop a little earlier so that we have at least 5 to 10 minutes for some kind of an interaction, Q&A or whatever. So, so the topic that I'll be taking you through this is Industry Institute interaction. I have a bit of a problem with the topic itself. Not exactly a problem with the topic, but with the word interaction. The two sides we have industry and institute. And interaction, normally when we say interaction, it's a kind of a loose relationship. It lacks a certain kind of commitment or a bonding from either side. What we're really looking for is, a more committed relationship between these two entities that we're talking about, namely industry and institute, right? So this, how do we make this little loose bonding that we're talking about? Just a minute, I don't know why the... Just give me a minute, the slide is not moving. Yeah, okay, I think. So let's try and rechristen this title of the sessions, title from Industry Institute Interaction to Industry Institute Alliance, alliance in the sense of, marital alliance, a lifelong commitment and bonding between the two entities, the industry and institute. And incidentally, as we speak, it also can be made into an acronym which stands for I&D industry, and I for institute, and A for alliance. So we will try and see how we can make this relationship between these two entities, industry and institute, and more of an alliance than a loose interaction, a more long-term, lifelong kind of a bonding and commitment. So you all know that this program, thanks to Professor Thamrai Selvan for organizing this program, and thanks to him for inviting me to do this session for you all. This is being done by NIT Trichy, and the clock tower is our iconic figure of NIT Trichy is the clock tower. that we have. And NIT Trichy, I'm not sure, how many of you have been to NIT Trichy. So it's just a quick brief. It's started in the year 1964. It's a 55-year-old plus old organization. We run 10 plus BTech programs and close to 30 masters programs. We enjoy a placement record of close to 100% for the undergrads and then over 80% for the masters. We also have an incubation center called SEDI. We will talk about it a little later. We also have an incubation center set up by ISRO. It's called STIC, Space Technology Incubation Center. And so this is, a 5.5 old decade institution that we are here in. So why am I talking about it? I'm talking about it not just as an introduction to the institute from where I come from. I'm talking about it from an industry institute alliance perspective, right? So across the road, we have this large industrial complex called BHEL, boiler plant and seamless steel plant, tube plant. Just across our institute, across the road, on the other side of the road is this large industrial complex called BHEL. I'm sure those who are from this part of the country would know BHEL and BHEL Trichy in particular. Of course, BHEL is there all over the country, but just across the road is what we have BHEL. Okay. So are we just going to stop here with an institute and an industry, being set up across the road? Is that the interaction or alliance that we are talking about? No, something more. What is that? Just adjacent to our campus is a government polytechnic. In fact, it's carved out of originally our land. We have a government polytechnic which is just adjacent, contiguous to NIT Trichy. Okay, so 2 educational institutions and 1 large industry. Is that all that we are talking about? Not really. Something more. What is that? As I speak across the road, just as GPT is contiguous, adjacent to our campus, NIT Trichy campus, contiguous to BHEL is, again, across the road, is a large ancillary industry for BHEL. There are any number of ancillary industries for, which cater to the needs of BHEL. Now, if you drive either from Tanjavur to Trichy or Trichy towards Tanjavur, on either side of the road, you find these 4 entities happening there. And all these 4 entities are not alliance that have come yesterday or, last year or, 2 years back or 5 years back. Thanks to the vision of the founding fathers of this country, all these 4 institutions were set up 5-6 decades back. Soon, a decade after India's independence, somebody had the vision to set up a complex like this out of barren land, a large national level institute, a polytechnic as a feeder, and a large industrial complex, again an auxiliary industry as a feeder. And all this was set up, obviously a lot of people worked on this, but all these came out of vision of one illiterate man. It was a vision of one illiterate man called Kamaraj. So these were the kinds of people we had who built the nation. So if you're talking about an industry institute alliance, I thought not just interaction and alliance, we'll talk more about BHEL and Trichy alliances subsequently as we go along. But I thought this is a nice point to start with when we're talking about an alliance and something that people envisioned, 50, 60 years back. So that's a fantastic vision that people had all those years back. Okay, on that backdrop, we will quickly, the agenda for my session is that we will start with a certain historical perspective of industry and institute alliance, how it has evolved, and then we will also go into current state of industry alliance, and then also subsequently a certain futuristic alliances that are examples right from our own country. So we will trace it in this sense, right? So if we really trace the history of interaction, so we can broadly place them in three models. The first model is the American model. So the American model, the concept of seeking an educational institution's collaboration for matters beyond routine academic issues began, sometime during the Second World War. This really happened in the USA. So this is the starting point of the American model, driven by individuals, based on innovation and so on. And the initiative really came from the military services. So they were seeking educational institutions, collaborations. So the technology or the engineering or the science originated from the university. So these were subsequently copied by other industries in US and later by other industries and other nations. So this was the first model of Industry Institute Alliance. It happened, the positive side effects of this alliance was that management sciences, including operations research and industrial engineering, they came into existence as respectable subjects to be taught in colleges. So if you really see the origin or start of operations research and industrial engineering as being taught formally, so somewhere around this time is what it happened. Now, the second model of alliance is the Japanese model of Industry Institute Alliance. So it is sort of a counter thesis. Every thesis has a counter thesis. The Japanese model is the counter thesis of this Industry Institute Alliance. So we all know the Japanese style. Typically they believe in teamwork. They believe in compliance to norms, Kaizen, and these are some of the things that they live their life through this. So the flow of ideas is also in the opposite direction. In the sense, these above ideas of teamwork, compliance to norms, Kaizen, all these ideas were developed essentially in the factories and converted into theory later, and subsequently adopted by the academic world. And the academic world, they theorized it and then started talking or taking classes about it, teaching it. And then from the academic world, again, it went back to practice. It got transmitted, translated, and transmitted to more industries. So the flow is from industry, concepts like Kaizen, teamwork, norms, and all that started. And then they got packaged as theory, and they were taught in the institutes, in the academia. And then again, from academia, it went back to larger number of industries. So, this, suited brilliantly when it came to the manufacturing sector. So the outcome of this practice is that Japan became number one in manufacturing sector. So, it not just became number one, it got copied by other Asian countries, and today China is a big example of how, China copied this model and for low-cost production that we are all talking about. And I'm sure most of you are youngsters out here. For people of my generation, when we were small, when we were in school and when we were very small, whenever anything of low quality was there, we always used to say, "Oh, Japani hai." It's Japanese, and therefore it had to be low quality. So made in Japan, from being known as cheap and poor quality, today has come to be known as cheap and best in the world. So this is the second model of Industry Institute Alliance, where industry practices got theorized, went to academia, they were taught in the academia, and then again got translated and transmitted back to industry, and then got copied across other countries and other nations and other industries. So this is the Japanese model. So much so today, if I were to give a very simple example, these are the pictures that you see here are actual pictures that happen in Japanese schools. Right from schools, from kindergarten, these values are taught. Japanese children maintain clean their own classrooms and toilets and things like that. Now, today we are talking about, many things, but, right there at the kindergarten, primary school level, these value systems are incorporated. When we talk about compliance to norms, so we can see these as live examples there. I happen to be there, in Japan, sometime a few months before the lockdown happened for a conference. And I was standing in the subway waiting for a train. And there were totally about 10 people in the platform. And out of the 10 people, there were about 5 or 6 school kids. And then for others, we were waiting for the train. That's all. Total 10 people in the station, in the platform, waiting for that particular train in that particular platform. So obviously, the display is there for the time, and you get to know in the next 30 seconds the train is arriving. And a minute before the arrival of the train, these 5-6 school kids who were there in the platform, they were in school, uniform, bags and things like that. They were talking and chit-chatting like any other school kid that you would see. But when the display started showing, the train arrival the next minute or so, suddenly I found them, just 5-6 of them, I found them going and standing in a queue, in the earmarked place in the queue to board the train. I didn't quite understand what they were doing initially. Then I realized that they were standing in the queue. In our concept, 10 people means like, a queue doesn't exist for us. It's one cluster is what we have, whether it's 10 people or 100 people, it's a cluster that we form. So now I'm giving this example because that is how the education system is there, right from there. So this gets, automatically it goes into, norms and targets and, the specifications, meeting specifications and quality and all that, it gets translated automatically as people grow. So, okay. Now, so we saw the American model, then we saw the Japanese model. The next way of, the Industry Institute interaction surfaced again in the USA, this time in the field of computer science. This is the IT industry model. So leading universities in MIT, Carnegie Mellon, Stanford, they all did some pioneering work in the in fundamental computer science field. So even today, a lot of development happens from the university when it comes to this particular field. The only difference this time is that a good amount of work was done by Indian students in these universities. It's we call it fortunate or unfortunate. Today we all we are all proud at one end that Sundar Pichai is an Indian and then Satyam Nadella is an Indian and all that. But on the other hand, it's also a very sad thing, Anyway, that's another topic. We'll not go into that. But then, so this is a third model of Industry Institute Alliance that happened. This is in the field of computer science. And in the industry started sponsoring product development, through the sponsored research mechanism. Now, it didn't stop there. today, universities abroad are extending this concept to, in a large way, to fields like biotechnology and pharmaceuticals and things like that. Today, if you're talking about COVID-19 and if you're talking about vaccine development, we're talking about Oxford vaccine, right? So a lot of things are happening at the university level in terms of development of in the biotech and pharma field as well. So this is a historical perspective of Industry Institute Alliance. And then comes, Industry Institute Alliance in India. So now, if you're talking about Industry Institute Alliance in India, do we have a model at all? We talked about the American model, we talked about the Japanese model, and then we talked about the American IT model. So do we have a model at all in India? Industry Institute Alliance model at all in India? The answer is yes. And the answer is yes, and I will also extend it. It's fundamentally there is a conflict in our psyche due to our cultural background when it comes to this Industry Institute Alliance. And what is this conflict in our mindset because of the cultural background? So I just want you to take a good look at this picture. We all know, that's Lord Vishnu there, lying there on a snake bed. And what do we see here? Or here, say, over the cursor. So we all know that from the navel, Nabi, as they say, from the Nabi, the lotus is there, and then this is Lord Brahma, right? So Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma is what essentially we see here. And what is the conflict that we are talking about in terms of, our Industry Institute Alliance model? Industry means wealth, right? Industry is there to produce wealth. That is the fundamental purpose of industry, to produce products and services, nevertheless, but eventually it is a bottom line. So wealth is what industry is there for. And what is the goddess of wealth? Goddess of wealth is Lakshmi, right? And how is Lakshmi related to Lord Vishnu? You all know that. And what does institute represent? Institute represents knowledge. And who is the goddess of knowledge? Goddess Saraswati, right? Now, Saraswati, as we all know, is Lord Brahma's wife. And since Lord Brahma is born out of the Nabi Kavalam of Lord Vishnu, he happens to be he is considered as son of Lord Vishnu, right? And these are Puranas, and so therefore, what happens? What is the relationship between Lakshmi and Saraswati? It is a relationship of mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. So we all know what happens and what is generally the kind of relationship. It may be stereotyping, pardon me for that, and pardon me for, portraying mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship in a not so nice way, but just to drive home a point that the alliance between industry and institute has not been so very friendly or very cooperative mode. So in Tamil, again, those who don't know Tamil, please pardon me. Often we say Kalviya Selvama Veerama. Is it Saraswati or is it wealth or Lakshmi, Selvama or Veerama or valor or boldness and things like that. So it's as if it's either or. Is this or that or that? No. The entire concept of Industry Institute Alliance is this and this and this, right? It's Lakshmi and Saraswati. It's not Lakshmi or Saraswati. So starting from there, this historical perspective that we talked about. So ideally, we are talking about a setup where an academic would, the time or the effort that an academic would put in terms of teaching, research, and consultancy would be, this would be an ideal situation. But typically, we all know, all of us are teachers, we all know how in reality how it is. The large pie is the teaching, and then the research and consultancy is the smaller pie. So this is the components of academic activity that we see in real life. So industry interface is almost synonymous with the students' industry visits and summer projects. It doesn't go beyond that, and most of us are only teaching colleges, disseminating existing knowledge. And this is not just talking about, I'm even referring to the IITs, IIMs when we are making a statement like that, because, once in a while somewhere, even the IITs are there in the top 100 institutions in the world. Otherwise, we are not there. We are not really there. So that's how it is. And the fundamental reason being this gap between. So what are the constraints that are there? Typically, the constraints that if one were to identify is, lack of mutual understanding and appreciation of our strengths and weaknesses. Both sides have strengths and weaknesses, but there's a lack of mutual understanding and appreciation. There's a lack of coordination and single window empowerment. There is also a lack of committed individuals on either side. And when it comes to our side, the institution side, there's a lack of industry orientation. And also a lack of systematic study to identify the industry needs. We do not do a systematic study. And also a lack of sense of urgency at the academic side. For us, everything is open-ended. Time is unlimited when we do any work or any research. But industry doesn't work. Industry works on a time-bound manner. We'll again talk about it a little later. This is called a technology readiness level plot. So we will again come back to this little later, but just briefly I'll mention on the y-axis we have investment, and on the x-axis we have 9 levels of what is called as technology readiness level, right? So we as academia, we typically operate within level 3 max, and occasionally we go to level 4. Whereas industry operates always on the other side at level 7, 8, 9. And then there is this huge gap between academia and industry. It's often, this gap is also often called as the valley of death. We'll revisit this little later towards the end of the session. So typically, when we're talking about areas of interaction, we talk about industrial visits, student projects, setting up new laboratories, arranging customized courses, curriculum planning, research advisory committee, having, on either side, testing services, consultancy services, collaborative research, and even counseling at some level. These are, possible areas of interaction. We'll go a little further on this beyond as well. So what is the possible framework for growth of interaction? Now, instead of diluting the efforts in many directions, each department could identify a specific area in which they could emerge as experts. Often what we do, everybody starts doing everything. So a very specific focus, even within a department, could be helpful. So this is possible by identifying a focus area in each department. Similar to the focus area, we have this focused groups, consisting of faculty and students, either from the same department or from different departments. They could come together, work together on a chosen area. So this is another way of doing. And within each department or group, there should be one member who constantly scans the external environment and brings in a business orientation to every activity. We completely lack business orientation. We just do, we derive pleasure out of doing something, and it starts there and it ends there. So business orientation is extremely, extremely important when we are talking about industry-institute interaction. And interaction with faculty of other institutes, often brings in the advantage of cross-fertilization of ideas. So, and research publications and patents, of course, is another way of, a framework for interaction. Now, some of you might have heard about, this typically looks like a DNA structure, right? So, but here we are having two strands. The two strands that we're talking about is industry and the institute. But in reality, we need to add a third strand. And so we have a helical structure, which is a triple helix structure. And obviously, I mean, on a online class like this, it's difficult to kind of interact. But then, I would pause and ask, what is this? This strand is this the third strand is the government. So therefore, we have industry, institute, and government together. They make the triple helix. So, when we are talking about industry institute interaction, when we're talking about industry institute alliance, we are really talking something that is not complete. We have to talk about industry, institute, and government together. That's when it makes the triple helix structure. That is how, Western universities and Western countries have progressed. And we also have mechanisms in place, not that we do not have mechanisms in place. So that said, if you're talking about, if you're bringing in the third element of government, so the framework and modes for forging alliances we could look at it in two ways. Tap government-assisted schemes for forging alliance and direct interaction with industry, and a mix of hybrid of both of these. So essentially now we're looking at forging alliances in these two modes. One is through government-assisted schemes for forging alliance. Essentially, it's for forging alliance with industry. The assistance is coming from government, and then direct interaction with industry as the second mode. So there are a number of government-assisted schemes, MODROPS, RPS, CRS, schemes like FIST, and I'm not really going to spend too much time on this. You are all very well versed with some of these. I'll just quickly run through these for the sake of having certain completion of what we are talking about and certain thread that we are talking about for the continuity sake. So there are a number of government schemes. For example, the MODRAPS we have. When we talk about MODRAPS, we have the MODRAPS, for removal of modernization and removal of obsolescence. The equipment or instruments that we get, they could even be used for teaching or training industry personnel, or for offering certain consultancy services. And financing up to 20 lakhs is given through this MODRAP scheme. Then we have the research promotion scheme. So essentially, the fundamental focus here is to generate master's and doctoral degree candidates to augment the research personnel in the country. funding up to 25 lakhs is given. The idea is, taking it to the next level. The ideas that are expected to lead to patents and products or services, of course, will be given preference. There are also schemes to set up entrepreneurship development cell. So we have a vibrant e-cell at NIT Trichy. We will again come back to it a little later. So we have these ModRUBs, RPAs, e-cell schemes. Then when it comes to DST, there are so many schemes. The FIST funding for improvement in science and technology infrastructure, up to, depending on the level, 1.5 crores to up to 20 crores kind of funding happens. So, and support is given for a period of 5 years. And there are also programs or schemes where a lot of focus currently is being given for electric mobility and technology foresighting. And BHL, in fact, is rolling out electric bus. BHL Trichy, is rolling out electric bus. And our Siemens Center, we have a Center for Excellence in Manufacturing in collaboration with Siemens. And our Siemens Center is executing a consultancy job worth 1 crore for BHL in the field of electric mobility. It's essentially on charging and things like that. So electric mobility and technology. And there are schemes funding for patent facilitation. Ministry DST helps in patenting technologies developed in universities. There are schemes for instrumentation development program, device development program, DDP, Internet of Things, things like that. And then under the technology mission division, specific funding programs are there for water technology initiative program, clean energy research initiative program, nanoscience technology initiative, national supercomputing mission, and so on and so forth. So there are a number of these schemes, and I'm just skimming through some of these schemes for the benefit of those who may not be aware. Obviously, you can get much more details if you just go into DST website, or the Science and Engineering Research Board, SERB, has these funding for industry relevant R&D project, R&D. So IRRD as it is called. So that is where Industry Institute Alliance can really we can forge alliance between Industry Institute by working on some of these programs like IRRD. The objective of the scheme is really to utilize the expertise available in academic institutions and national laboratories to solve industry-specific problems for the larger benefit of society. So government has specific programs like the IRRD under SERB. So it's just that we need to have reorientation and mindset to work on these programs. And then Technology Development Board, it gives assistance for anyone wanting to scale up or develop certain indigenous technology. We are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat and all that. So these are, TDB has these programs. They give loan up to 50% of project. And TDB also has programs to set up technology business incubators. I'll talk about the business incubator that we have at NIT Trichy in a while. So there are programs under DST, TDB for setting up TBIs. And then there's this program called PRISM for promoting innovations in individuals and startups and MSMEs. Again, financial support is given to individual innovators. Faculty, we as faculty can make use of this. They support up to 90% of the total cost of the project. So coming back to areas of interaction, we talked about industrial visits, projects, laboratories, customized courses, and all of that. So we'll try and see how Industry Institute Alliance can happen in some of these, if not all of these. with this particular slide, I've just listed some of the things that we do at NIT Trichy, so that as an example, the idea is not to boast what we are doing. We have a long way to go when it comes to industry institute interaction. Let me confess that. I'm not claiming that we are doing great things. We have a very long way to go, but just some of these small examples that we are doing here at NIT Trichy. So leveraging proximity of BHL NITT model that, we talked about it right in the beginning of the session. So equipment, laboratory sponsorship, we have a Motorola lab. NVIDIA is now setting up a lab here in NIT Trichy. TI, Texas Instruments, they give kits for our students to work on. So they sponsor project kits. And we have a 2-credit course in what is called as product development. So the focus here on this product development course is essentially that students should get a business orientation and then should be able to focus on innovation, product innovation, and business orientation is what the focus is on. Courseware collaboration. So as we speak, I'm happy to share that I was personally instrumental in making 2 courseware collaboration happen at NIT Trichy. The latest one is with Jindal Steel. So Jindal Steel is offering an entire course end to end, starting from day 1 lecture to 40th hour. Is being offered by Jindal Steel. They have experts who have spent 3-4 decades in the steel industry, and who are also academicians who have written lots of papers and published books and things like that. They are delivering this course on steel making end to end, and they are talking about the latest in steel making. It's not that a book on steel making published in the 1980s and 80s or 70s that we teach. What is happening in the steel industry today is being taught. So this is one thing that is happening. The other one is a larger collaboration. It's called the L&T BIS model. I'll come back to that in a short while from now. So the other modes of participation are like we try and encourage, a department to participate in open tenders, which call for consultancy work. It could be software development, it could be design and things like that. So, and tapping alumni contacts. If your institute is a fairly old institute, you should not leave any stone unturned when it comes to tapping the alumni contacts. And faculty and department should also actively go towards empanelment as consultants in projects. And testing services and contract research is something that we talked about. So, we are talking. So let's start with the smallest thing that student projects. Let's start with this, and let's see how we can work on this. This is very much possible. This is very much possible in our setup. So the way we should see a student project is this way, that we should be able to inculcate these 3 key elements in the student when as part of their project. So the first element is professional preparation. So when student is going through an engineering program, 4-year engineering program, he's doing a professional course. So professional preparation is fundamental when it comes to a project, because that is the first time the student is doing something practical. And then it should have a multidisciplinary design. It's not that an engineer is an engineer. You cannot compartmentalize into, I am an electrical engineer or I am a mechanical engineer. A multidisciplinary design approach is what is expected out of a project. And a third key element is community engaged learning. So there has to be an application of the project to the community. nearby, or at least an engagement with the community, so that the community gets benefited, or we learn from the community their real needs. So, so there is a sweet spot, which is the meeting point of these three things: professional preparation, multidisciplinary discipline, and community engaged learning. So this sweet spot is what is part of what is called as EPICS, engineering projects in community service. EPICS is part of IEEE. It's often called as EPICS in IEEE. Again, some of you may be aware of this, and some of you may not be aware of EPICS. So some of you may be having EPICS in your institution, but if you're not having EPICS, you should work on this. This is a fantastic and a very, quick way of ramping up our practical application of what we learn as theory in engineering. So let's look at it in the next few minutes in terms of what EPICS is all about. So on one hand, we have the educational and industrial enterprises. On the other side, we have the community that we're talking about. Remember, EPICS stands for Engineering Projects in Community Service, EPICS, in community service. So on one hand, now education and industry and enterprises, we are together, right? On the other hand, we have the community now. So initially we talked about industry and institute, and then we brought in the third strand of government. And then we are talking about all this is working for whom? These are working for the industry and the community eventually. So we have the needs of the underserved. So there's so much that the educational institutions and the industrial enterprises can do. If only we find, we do a need finding of the community and bring in innovation into it, and we develop products. Entrepreneurship is built in. We develop products or services which meet the needs of the community. So this is what so I just saw some query coming in. What we will do, I'll try and stop maybe 5-10 minutes before the scheduled time, and we will, orally interact. We can just have a raise of hands, and then you can ask your query, and then we will interact. So answering queries in between through the chat box becomes a little difficult because it affects the flow, and then also it's certain continuity is not there. So I'll try and stop 5-10 minutes before the scheduled time, and then we will devote some time towards addressing the queries. Is that fine? With whoever just raised a query in the chat box right now. Okay. So EPICS decoupled time scale. So this is a very important slide in my opinion, because this is something that we can do in all our institutes. So student learning typically happens this way: semester 1, semester 2, semester 3, semester 4, semester 5, semester 8, right? And then semester 8, project people do, and then members are from the same class, right? And at least undergraduate project, if you're talking about, and they are all from same department, mechanical engineering or instrumentation, or from computer science, or from chemical, or whatever. So semester 1 to semester 8, and then the project is done in the 8th semester. They are all from the same class. Now, is there a way of looking at it from a different angle or a different perspective? Possibly, yes. Can we look at projects running co-current with theory and hands-on learning? Can we look at projects where members are of a particular project are from different years and different branch. Not just different branches, different years also. So a project is done where there are, let's say, 4 members, team members in a project. One student is a third year student from mechanical engineering. Another student is a second year student from instrumentation. Another student is a final year student from computer science. But together a project is done. So automatically we are talking about co-current along with theory. And in a way that we are able to free up the project work in the 8th semester, if you are able to complete the project before. So that one can do a semester abroad or an internship in an industry or whatever, right? So is this possible? Now, we all know that faculty are doing certain projects, either sponsored research or some industry consultancy and so on and so forth, right? So now this Spider, Delta, Scient, these are all our, technical clubs that we have. Smart India Hackathon, right? Students do projects in Smart India Hackathon and things like that. Faculty projects are sponsored research projects that faculty is engaged in. Now, is there a way we can, marry these two things? So, is there a way we can marry these two things? Now, projects, students do their projects, students move out. But faculty don't move out. Projects should not move out. Projects should have continuity. We should develop the projects to the next level, and we should keep on doing this. This is how we should work. Right? Now, if we are able to do that, then there is continuity, and then we are able to scale up our project work, student project work, to a level where we are able to interact with industry and deliver something meaningful and useful for industry. But right now, it is all this model where semester, 8 semester projects, and then they go away. But instead, if you're able to flip it around and do like this, then certainly there is a way of, continuing the project. So research shows that, people and technical are related. A novice is a fresh young student and an expert is here. And technical, design, complexity, ambiguity, all that is on this x-axis. And learning to interact with people, design users, team members, all this on this y-axis. Our traditional education is this way. Technically we learn and then we start working, and then that is where we start learning how to interact with people, being a team member and all that, right? So it is horizontal and then vertical learning, but these kind of multi-year and multidisciplinary projects can result in this kind of a growth where both technical learning and people learning skills develop. So, and epic projects can be helpful in this. So, points to ponder. We talked about students move out, faculty don't. We talked about all this, and I'll just then touch only one particular point. Is there a way we can integrate NSS with the projects? Typically how NSS happens in our college, most colleges, certainly there is an NSS camp. We take all the students to the same temple that the seniors have gone. We go clean the temple and come back. And then it becomes so routine and, interest is not there. Instead of placing students in NSS projects, let the students self-select the projects that they want to do. So we are able to flip it from uninterested to more motivated student we have. So if you are able to integrate NSS, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, EPICS, all of that, so we will be able to do a much more meaningful project and much more useful project for community, and we'll be able to engage with the industry in a much better and larger scale. So I talked about courseware collaboration, and I said I'll come back to this L&T thing in a while. This L&T thing that we have at NIT Trichy is a flagship program that we are doing at NIT Trichy. Not just, there are just 4 institutes in the country which are doing this: IIT Madras, IIT Delhi, NIT Trichy, and NIT Surathkal. 4 institutes are part of this L&T. BIS stands for Build India Scholarship. L&T Build India Scholarship program. So as part of this, at NIT Trichy, again, I'm very happy and proud to say that I was instrumental in making this happen at NIT Trichy because of my previous industry connect that I had, as part of my steel industry experience work that I used to do. So we run this MTech in Construction Technology and Management. MTech in Construction Technology and Management. And for whom do we run this program? We run this program exclusively for L&T. So 50% of the participants are L&T engineers who are working in L&T, who have worked for 3, 4, 5 years or whatever, and L&T sponsors their MTech program. So they come to NIT Trichy, they do an value addition to themselves, they earn an MTech degree, and the other 50% are freshers from the open world. So, and the entire fees, everything is sponsored by L&T, and at the end of their MTech program, they get absorbed by L&T. And this is an exclusive program for L&T that we are doing. It's an MTech in Construction Technology and Management. This is on the extreme right is our previous director, Professor Sundarajan. This happened about 6 years back. We had this MOU signed. And this is Mr. S.N. Subramaniam, who's the CEO of L&T. So this is another, level of Industry Institute Alliance that, as an example, that we are quoting that is happening at NIT Trichy. So another level of Industry Institute collaboration that we could talk about is the Center for Entrepreneurship Development and Incubation, CEDI, that we have at NIT Trichy. I'll just spend a few minutes on this. We talked about technology business incubators that TDB, the Technology Development Board of Department of Science and Technology, has, which gives funding. So this, of course, we set up the CEDI under a funding from MeitY, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Department of Electronics and Information and Technology. So we set up this CEDI, this incubation center. I'm not going into details of this. CEDI separate, there is a website for CEDI, you can get details of that. But I'm just trying to convey the point that at what levels Industry Institute interaction can happen. So you would have noticed now, I'm just moving from one level of maturity of Industry Institute interaction to the higher level of maturity of Industry Institute interaction, running from small courses, project work, to offering an entire MTech level program, to, having, entrepreneurship development, which leads to job creation instead of job seeking. So the CEDI that we have a separate Section 8 company that is promoted by NIT Trichy to promote innovation and entrepreneurship, essentially to convert technology ideas into products, processes, and services for commercial exploitation and the benefit of society. Please see there, commercial exploitation and the benefit of a society. So what is that we do at CEDI? We give seed funding to a prospective entrepreneur. We give up to 25 lakhs seed funding. So for an entrepreneur who, of course, there is a screening mechanism. We screen how good or the idea is and things like that. It's not that it goes free, but we give this. And we also help in creating access to markets. And after, setting up of the industry, further funding also we help and augmenting their managerial skills and things like that, the SEDI provides. So I'm just skipping this. So who all can be? Anybody with an idea can incubate his company. So, for funding purposes, you have to register your company. So any idea which has an intellectual property generated within NIT or outside NIT also, I said, seed funding up to 25 lakhs we give. So what is that we give? We give seed funding, we give office space, we give company personal computers, office furniture, a fully furnished office. You can just move in and start your function. Internet connection through NIT. The incubators even have access to our labs. A common, of course, fax machine, old concept, laser printer, photocopier, scanner, meeting, conference room as a shared service, and things like this. Access to our, facilities and things like that. All this we have. Now, all this is moving towards, what is that we are talking about? Essentially, when we are talking about industry, institute, interaction, we are talking about moving our work to a certain value, creating value for our work. And that is where this word valorization comes in. So we'll just come back to this word valorization in a while. So whatever we do, the value of an idea lies in the using of it, said Thomas Edison. So when we're talking about industry, institute, alliance, interaction, we have to have this in mind that the idea, the work that we do, ultimately its value lies in the using of it. Otherwise, it has no value. If somebody is not using it, it has no value. So that is where, that is how we should really be moving towards. So valorization, simply put, today as we speak, it's towards value for many. And when we say value for many, we are talking about the community at large. So two things that, when we talked about valorization or creating this, two things that triggered me to talk about this. So we all know that this is our Rashtrapati ji. So, and this is our SNT minister, and this is Professor Anil of IIM Ahmedabad, who is known as the father of innovation in India. And this is our student president. Our student president is receiving the award from the Rashtrapati ji as the best innovation club in the Festival of Innovation and Entrepreneurship that happens at every year at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So this was one thing that we got. The second trigger for talking about adding value to what we do is this a recent news item which said IIT Delhi to allow PhD students to start startups instead of theses. Now that's a very wild statement if you see. Very bold statement, very wild statement. It shakes us up. Award PhD based on if you're doing a startup instead of a thesis. Radically different. But then IIT Delhi, the aim is to convert thesis to startup, said V. Ram Gopal Rao, Director IIT Delhi. The move will push doctoral fellows to think about an alternative career beyond academics to create jobs than just seek jobs. The Deputy Director, Professor Balakrishnan, says to convert successful research works into usable products. So So this this valorization, this concept of life cycle, I'll briefly touch this concept of life cycle. Is Brahma the creator, Vishnu the ruler, and Shiva the consumer or exploiter. If we translate this concept of life cycle to a product or a service, I'm translating this concept of life cycle to a product life cycle. So creation or innovation is R&D. And productivity, process optimization, profit is industry. And finally, the utility, the exploiter is the consumer or the community, right? So creation, maintenance and exploitation. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, in that order of things. Translating life cycle to product life cycle. But it's not as simple as it seems. Why is it not as simple as it seems? There are certain practical approach to this. There is a certain intermediary. There is a gap here between this, and there is a gap between here, this and this. So the gap here is translating, industry development to end user it requires a lot of product knowledge and market knowledge. So marketing is an important interface between industry and end user. And between R&D and industry comes valorization. Technology, productization and commercialization. It's no use if we simply do some research and do some development. How do we translate that technology to a product? It's called productization. And how does this productization, how do we exploit it as commercially? Is this commercialization. So together this is called valorization. So this is where, this gap is where industry and institute has to work together. So simply put, the definition of valorization as per Harvard Business School is to cause something having only a potential income producing value to be sold, manufactured, displayed or utilized so as to yield income or raise capital. So essentially we have taken it to a level where we are saying that the very purpose of valorization is to convert all our work in terms of research and development to take it to a level where it can be sold or manufactured or utilized so that it can yield income or raise capital. So that bridge, that gap is what we have to bridge. So I'll quickly go into I think maybe don't really have time for this. So how do we do this? As part of my deck, I will give you this links to these sites. How do we do this? We actively engage with the industry in terms of alliances, but there are so many partners, who do this bridging between industry and academia. There's a site called Innocent, Nine Sigma, Your On Core, all of this. This will be shared with you. I would suggest you can go into this and then see. This is a platform which brings in academics and industry. Simply put, what it does is, in one platform, the platform goes and showcases your expertise, what you can do or what you can give to industry. the platform also brings in the problems that industry faces. Industry post their problems here, and these platforms bridge these gap, and they say that if this is the problem, and you say yes, I have a solution to this. This platform bridges. Or if you say this is my expertise, and industry is looking for a certain expertise, they come and approach you. So these platforms bring these things together. So I talked about this technology readiness level, TRL level. So the whole idea is we have to extend our work to bridge this valley of death, so that we have to move more and more towards this, and industry has to also move in terms of funding investment. You see, even government today is largely doing many things, but still we have a long way to bridge this gap, and then so that we have this, the work that we do in academia, in institute, we are able to what are these technology readiness levels? Again, I'll share this. You don't have to really bother about it. So TRL1 is basic principles. Mostly our work is restricted to TRL1 to TRL concept validation, but we have to move more towards demonstration plant, pilot plant, industrial pilot plant, and things like that. TRL9 is extensive implementation of the research. So we have to move our work from TRL1 to 2 more and more towards at least 4, 5, 6 kind of a level, where there's a possible bridging that can happen. So finally, I just wanted to give this example of IIT Madras Research Park, which is the only research park, university-based research park, which is at the highest level of industry institute interaction. If some of you might have visited the IIT Madras Research Park, so that is what I showed there is the entire building. So I don't know. This is some of you might have heard about this company called Agni Cool, which is this boy is an IIT Madras student who is incubated here in the IIT Madras Research Park, who is doing this company Agni Cool is working similar work like ISRO, launching rockets. And this is our Pradhan Mantri who is listening to this boy. This company Agni Cool, incubated in IIT Madras by an IIT Madras student, and they're working towards launching rockets. Private sector, startup, unimaginable. But IIT Madras Research Park is able to do that. 70 plus R&D partners, 200 plus startups, incubated already, 200 plus labs and test facilities, 1,300 patents filed here. Of course, this is at a very, very high level. So from value for money to value for many. So that is real industry institute interaction. Coming together is the beginning. Staying together is progress. Working together is success. So that is when real industry institute alliance happens. So the value of an idea lies in the using of it. So thank you. And that is me. I close here. And so we can quickly have Q&A over the next few minutes. With Tamari, with your permission, I will probably, if necessary, I might go beyond 11:30, but we still have time. We have good time. So as I promised, I've stopped a few minutes before the scheduled session. So, we can have some Q&A. We can have any yeah, please.
So myself Jagan, coordinator, and one of our coordinator have noted down the questions in chat box so far. He will just forward. He will forward the questions one by one to you so that you can answer the questions, sir.
Can you just read it out? So
sure, sir.
Yeah,
Hari, can you please read it out?
That'd be easy.
Yes. Okay. The first question is by Dr. Renu Yadav. The question is, what kind of opportunities For teacher education department in industries, what kind of projects can be initiated?
Teacher, sorry, can you repeat that?
What kind of opportunities for teacher education department in industries? What kind of projects can be initiated?
Teacher education departments in industry. In
Yes, sir.
industry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I've really understood the question correctly, but I'll try and answer. In fact, currently as we speak, I'm doing some work for, on behalf of our institute, I'm doing some work for the Ministry of Education in the area of the national education policy. In a certain aspect, particular aspect of NEP, I'm working on. So, as part of this NEP, the government, has decided on setting up what is called as NETF, National Education Technology Forum. National Education Technology Forum. So, this will be an unifying body which will look at all aspects of education technology. In terms of content creation, in terms of online classes, in terms of digitization, in terms of online assessments and examinations, everything. And edtech companies have a fantastic prospect ahead in terms of being components of this NETF. The government is, very, very keen on extending this entire, technology-enabled learning right from school level to the highest level of, primary to tertiary education, as they call. So edtech companies have a huge role to play, and education technology departments, or whatever you call, almost I think every university is going to have a center for education technology. Every institution, every university is expected to have a CET in the coming years as part of this NETF. So there's a lot of role that private sector industry can play in enabling new technologies and things like that. So so that's about it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
The next question is, what kind of project proposal may be considered for management faculty from industry?
What
Can I
kind?
repeat, sir?
Yeah.
What kind of project proposal may be considered for management faculty from industry?
Okay, so the simplest that I can think of is, let's say, market surveys. Market surveys are many times not done directly by industry, because they don't have the wherewithal to go to the field and do a survey to understand the potential of a particular product or a service in that particular market and things like that. So, certainly market survey is something that management faculty can do. Even restructuring projects, consulting kind of a role, management departments can take up depending on the strength of the department in terms of, restructuring finance or restructuring manpower and so on and so forth. At different levels, in industry has all aspects, human resource, finance, marketing. At all
Sir,
levels, I think it is possible.
Sir,
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Kirti. I want to add to the question because I'm a management institute director working in Pune. We are
Okay.
doing consultancy for management, and there are a lot of potential available, especially post-COVID for HR. You can do hell lot of consultancy in the field of HR for industry. Basically, the problem which they are facing currently is how to implement work from home, especially for the manufacturing sector, because they never thought of it that such pandemic can affect their production line so badly, where they cannot call all the people together to work. So you can undertake such kind of project where you can give them a proposal how they can utilize their manpower to the optimum level and provide them a training to overcome, like a stress training, job designing, job evaluation. These all projects also they give. You can start. See, we are not a very big name in the market because the tier 2 cities have a smaller institute. So under that condition, maybe NIT Trichy are getting a big chunk of projects at a high value, but the smaller management institute can go for it for smaller amount projects. Once you are established in the market, people automatically comes to you and offer the projects.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm moving on to the next question.
Yeah.
Can you please share cloud projects be sponsored and got under RPS to Engineering Institute?
Can you repeat that?
Can you please share cloud projects be sponsored and got under RPS to Engineering Institute?
I'm not sure I really understood the question. Cloud projects under RPS.
Yes, sir.
Research promotion scheme is what you're asking.
Yes, sir.
I don't think I have the competence to, say yes or no, because this is really a DST program. You will have to get this answer for this question from DST.
Okay, sir. Thank you. The next question is, what kind of infrastructure is required for standalone management college to initiate startup? Sir, can I repeat?
Okay. Yeah, no, I understood. What kind of infrastructure is required for standalone B schools to initiate?
Yes, sir.
See, broadly, if you're looking at, I'm an engineer and I would, I have this bias for engineering projects, inherent bias for engineering projects. If you're looking at engineering projects, then obviously standalone B school will have the disadvantage of not having engineering labs and things like that. But certainly, if you're located in a metro city, I don't know where you're located. If you're located in a metro city, simply offering space, office space with furniture, with connectivity and things like that, itself can be a big offering. This is an offering that but obviously you'll not be able to give access to engineering labs and workshops and things like that. But space and connectivity and office space and connectivity is something that you start with that. That is a starting point.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I think there are no more questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Participants, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask.
Yes. Sir, I have one question that mainly for industry institute interaction, how the particular organization approach the industry, because the major constraint is that if suppose you do not belong to a tier 1 institutions, how you believe that the institute can approach to the industry to not only for project but for any interaction also, how they can initiate the talk to get the association done?
No, there are no simple solutions to this. We have to keep trying. It's not, if you think that it's easy for NIT Trichy, you are mistaken. It is as difficult for NIT Trichy because I'll tell you, we are not located in a metro city. For IIT Madras sitting in Chennai and IIT being IIT, it's so easy. We are located in a tier 2 city and we are located in a remote place. If you think it's easy for us, it's not at all easy. There are not many industries in Trichy.
Okay.
So we have to keep trying. No, I'm coming to your question. you have to leverage every possible contact. You have to leverage your college mate, classmates who are there in industry. You have to talk to them. You have to leverage, there'll be students whose parents are in industry. You have to leverage that. So industry, it doesn't happen. You make 25 attempts, one may look like it is moving. And that also may fail. But we have to keep on trying. And then once it starts happening, you build one over the other. Once you have done, let's say, a dozen consulting work for industry or testing, you start with small things like testing services, market survey, and things like that. And once you have something to showcase and it starts gaining momentum, and you can start building on it. But there is no simple solution or answer. Okay, you go and turn the tap on and then you're going to have an interaction with an industry. No, we have to keep interacting. We have to take the first step. The initiative has to come from the industry side, because the pain point is more on the institute side than on the industry side.
So my concern why I have asked this, because many times we are located in Pune, which is an industrial hub, and we get approached by sometimes many industry, but the costing part or which is many times become the constraint to make it feasible. Say suppose if I am the one idea you have given is the cost sharing. So if I want to go for that, the costing of that particular course has become so unviable or not possible to bear neither by the student nor by the college itself. So that's why I was asking, do you feel that the institute should develop certain basic qualities so that you can attract more industries to come and join the hands?
How old is your institution, madam?
It is 10 years old.
Okay, 10 years, fairly young institution. So if you're an older institution, like I told in the beginning, your alumni will be there in mid-level, senior level positions. We have to tap them. So I said, like I told you, we have to attack from multiple fronts. And as I said, you make 25 attempts, 50 attempts, one may fructify. And we can't stop or shy away from not attempting. And when you're talking about courseware development, it becomes unviable, you said. I didn't quite understand what you meant, but I'll just tell you, you don't have to look at an entire course being offered by industry. So I can tell you I spent 17 years in the industry and switched to academics. I simply switched to academics because of my love for academics. But I can tell you, there are so many people in industry who love to teach. So invite them for, sharing their knowledge. As part of your curriculum, as part of the course, invite an industry person to spend 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours and things like that. They'll be happy to do that. And just give them some, token of appreciation, some memento. They don't expect anything. They just want to come and share their knowledge. So this is a very small way to start with. And then we grow this slowly. So we have to start in some small way and grow is my answer repeatedly. It comes back to that. We have to start in a small way and grow.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, participants. If you have any other queries, please post it in the WhatsApp group. We can move on to the next session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam. Yeah. We are ending the session now.
Yeah.